Hello, everybody. I hope you all are doing amazing. We are back with another episode of Chai Time. I'm Alina, and today I'm here with two special people. Adnan, welcome to Chai Time.
Happy to be here.
And we also have Maria. Maria, welcome to Chai Time.
Hi, happy to be here.
So, how was your week so far, Adnan?
The week has been good, and I say this every week, but slightly more back to normal this week. So got a lot more done, been more productive, and yeah, I feel like almost um, that I'm getting back to where I used to be before the train of life slightly got derailed. But yeah,
That's great. Or anything exciting for this week?
uh, it's quite a few things happen, but at work we hired. We're actively hiring, so we hired more people, both in technical teams and sales teams, and also our growth team is doing pretty well. It's growing, thanks to you, and new people who are also starting. So we're actively growing and very happy about that because I know that the rest of the industry is on a mixed path. So something we're doing right.
Yeah, that's great. And anybody who wants to apply and be a part of our team, they can just go to our website, Opus Careers, and you can apply there as well. And let's get back to our episode. So, this week we are back with a really interesting topic. This is part of our series AI and Education with Opus AI. So, this week the topic is, can AI improve trust in teachers? And the special guest that we have today is Maria Saper. Maria is a public speaker and she is also doing her MPhil in Pol Science. She has also taught on various levels and she is also a researcher. So she has also written a lot of articles on AI and tech. So we will be talking to Maria in the creator segment, but before that, let's get back to our episode. So, Adnan, my first question to you is about the topic. Can you give me an opinion on how do you think AI can support teachers in being more available to their students?
Yeah, great question. And we've seen, so I'll start with something that we previously talked about in the previous episode, which is education has changed rapidly in the last 10 to 15 years. Before that, like education is, of course, something that is always changing, right? According to the um, workplace, or the requirement for the workforce, how the industry is doing, and so on and on. So there was quite a bit of change as US got less industrialized and more managerial. But since then, things were slightly calm for a while till the internet happened, and with the internet, a lot of problems came, and a lot of solutions came, and a lot of completely new array of tool set for teachers, for students, um, and then we thought that things wouldn't get any crazier, but then the mobile phone happened, and that really put strain on teachers. How um, they were dealing with calculators in classrooms, and then suddenly they had like entire computers, and with that, in these gossip networks that we call Facebooks and Twitters and all that. But getting back to the question, and that has been a debate for a while. Like, should we allow this in classroom? Should we allow that in classroom? And then suddenly we start seeing every student with a Chromebook and iPads, and then um, all hell break loose, right? But I think one of the most interesting that recently happened is um, um, tool set that is specifically tailored for the educational segment, but also something that helps teachers become a lot more knowledgeable, a lot more creative, and less um, of a person who's trying to memorize the entire, what they're going to teach, and more of somebody who's taking part in a dynamic discussion, right? That is much more tailored to the current class rather than you know something that they have taught for years. And to example would be a traditional teacher before this entire thing would be somebody who is preparing very hard, like often they are like trying to figure out what they're going to teach the next day, um, rehearsing it, recalling it, like what went wrong the last time and how to fix it and all that. But now we have something, the kind of tools that can help them, um, not having to do that. um, Rather, they can have some kind of AI assistant that can provide them contextual knowledge, right? So a student can ask a question, and if they don't know the answer, they can quickly, or more like they can't recall it off the top of their head, they can quickly get it from an assistant, and that helps them be a lot more responsive to the question that is being asked. And of course that means that they don't have to um, parrot a lesson, but rather they can engage in a live discussion that is happening, or what is going through the student's mind, or if like something, rather than having to repeat the syllabus by book, they can come up with slightly more dynamic example, dynamic exercises, and really stimulate the mind of the student. So I think there are a lot of opportunities there, and some of them are already we're seeing happen in classroom, but there's
Yeah.
a lot of room for improvement, and adding more to make not only the life of the teacher easier, but also make them a lot more effective at their job.
Yes, and I think so. After the COVID times, we have seen that the availability of teachers has improved as well via the use of technology and AI as well. Like, I remember that a lot of the times that the teachers needed to contact the students, they could easily do that through technology, through all of these apps as well. And for ChatGPT, which was launched, and a lot of other AI tools that could help the teachers to, kind of tell us a lot of the things, and they could also be available for us a lot of the times. So I think so that technology has played a role in that sense as well. And do you think, what sort of ways do you think can AI be there for the students, help teachers be there for the students, and be able to understand the needs of the students? If you can understand that, like, you can answer that sort of question, because a lot of the students, they have different sort of needs, so how can AI help in that way?
Personalized education, right? And what I mean by that is that a teacher can attend to so many students, right? If in a big classroom, like even with 30 students, things can get pretty hairy. The teacher wants to address the widest spectrum, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they can address every single need, due to how variable each student demands can be. And often what happens in a traditional classroom, that the students that are not keeping up, they tend to get left behind. And of course, like we have a way to measure it, but often we don't have a way to address it proactively, right?
Yeah.
I think what can happen in this case, so I mean, like, to give a simple example, like a teacher is doing an exercise, and if, especially when it comes to a technical subject of some kind, um, the books are often lagging, right? So it's not that you can, if you don't um, you miss out some part of it, you're gonna go back and learn it from the book. Um, and I think what of course internet has done, but also AI can do on a very different scale, is really not only assess how far the student is, but also start augmenting to the syllabus or courseware to help them fill in the gaps that a teacher is unable to fill due to their um, being overbooked, right? So I think that's one thing that can definitely happen, um, which also um, uh, can change how we, I would say, think about assessment or exams.
Yeah.
But we'll talk about in a bit. But I think that that is something that we'll have to think about. That okay, if um, we can keep students for due to the these tools or these means. How do we and what is the purpose of exams? After that.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, that books can sometimes be very outdated or they can't be, a great source of learning. So I think that's where tools like Opus also come in. That student can, write and they can also learn through visual learning as well. Because a lot of the times in higher sort of studies as well, when we see something, even if it's animations and history in some form of animations, we kind of learn it very quickly. So I think so that's where Opus also has a role, that AI tool that can, people can use and it can facilitate students as well. How do you think AI can improve teachers in creating their lesson plans?
It already is, right? But and like we discussed, like a brushed upon how um, a teacher no longer has to parrot or rehearse something in advance. Rather than thinking about the content they have to deliver, they can start thinking about the substance of what they want to accomplish,
Yes.
and um, let the technology drive most of the content delivery part, right? And what, of course, that makes it a lot more interesting and engaging for students as well, because then they no longer are trying to um, guess or uh, understand what the teacher is trying to say, but it can be a lot more interactive session. I think um, um, the thing that I previously was thinking about, as I was talking about these changing paradigm of education, one thing that came to my head is that, oh, let's say that now we have a lot more sophisticated tools, and what so I mean, as these things change, we also have to reassess, okay, is this mechanism, because a lot of these things are mechanisms that were put in place, like exam or like classrooms and all these are mechanisms. They're not some religious rituals, and the purpose of the mechanism was to educate, right? And
Yeah.
if the education paradigm slightly, or quite a bit changing, do we keep these mechanisms as they are, or do we rethink think them and figure out, okay, what was the purpose, how to um, get to the next step, right? And what I was thinking about is that, oh, um, do we actually need exams in the traditional sense anymore if we can augment the student learning and kind of like help them get to the almost like the entire class at the same level, let's say majority of the time, right? Even if it reaches
Yeah.
to 90 to 95%, I think then we have to really think that, okay, if everybody's excelling at traditional exam, do we actually need it? Because the point was of the exam was to figure out who is lagging behind and kind of penalize them, so people do make their best effort, or like can put in the extra effort to stay on par with others. And if that's no longer necessary, what is the purpose of exam? So that's something that we definitely should think about. Do we actually need it, and do we need a separate mechanism, or maybe we need to evolve it to um, to um, serve the purpose that or maybe add more to the purpose that we want to um, accomplish.
Yeah. And one of the core relationships are the relationship among a teacher and a student as well, because teachers can also inspire the students. They can also play a very vital role in a student's life. And when it comes to, teacher being the one who is, giving the sort of feedback on the students learning, and it comes to the point that the parents are also involved, do you think AI can also help the teachers be more transparent with the parents regarding the students learning, because this is something that they can come up with a lot of feedback and different ways to be more transparent as well.
I have, so this is something that we have to think about, right? What exactly are we thinking when we talk about transparency? Because so if you're, let's say you're a company who's building a chatbot, you will definitely be like, very excited about it. Like, oh, can you put the chatbot in the middle and it's going to take, the notes and, convey some information to the parents, and the parents can be more involved. Now, the problem with that I see is that we're not at that level where we can rely on these tools to for such a critical purpose, right? We have teacher meetings, and there are other mechanisms that provide um, the parents some information on how their child is doing in the classroom, right? Of course, traditional exam is one way. Um, the teacher feedback is another, and um, do you want to bring in something slightly more sophisticated that will help? um, of course, like, we can try that mechanism and see how it goes. But what we have seen currently is that a lot of time these tools are doing more harm, especially when they're in a critical role. So we have to be very careful where we introduce them, right? There are places that we do want to introduce it because those are new roles. But if there is an existing solution to a problem, before we try to replace it or mix to it, we have to be careful. So I have mixed. Um, um, I think we probably should wait a little bit more before we try to replace, especially when it comes to um, uh, that kind of role, like, bringing in transparency. I don't think these tools are there yet where we can start introducing the bill.
Yeah. And a lot of people, when you talk about AI being in the classroom or AI being the teacher, people have this sort of, first thought that, oh, if AI was the teacher, how would it be able to, make sure that the classroom is not very, the decorum is maintained, and the classroom is, the discipline is maintained. So, how would you define that if AI was the teacher? How do you think that it would be able to maintain the discipline, or would it be something that the teacher, a traditional sort of way, a teacher would have to be present?
I think there are precursor to that. That will AI replace the teacher in the classroom, right? And
Yeah.
the only time we're gonna ask this question, that how are you gonna maintain it, if we're thinking of that. And um, I don't think we want to replace that human element to the education within chatbot, right? Because oftentimes when you talk about AI, people are not really thinking about AI; they're thinking about a chatbot doing something, right? A chatbot does not have a lot of things that a teacher needs to have, and a teacher is more than a delivery mechanism, right? A teacher understand, because so here's the thing about human element, or the, a human teaching something to another human. They have gone through the same path, so they understand the steps that needs to be taken to get to a place. Not only that, they can feel um, um, much more closely because they have been in those shoes. A chatbot or a virtual avatar does not have, first of all, it doesn't have any skin in the game, right? It has no penalty for being wrong, right? And we have seen this a lot currently, right? Where it's constantly giving completely inaccurate and wrongful information to people, and a lot of time people are relying on that information, to get a job, to make critical decisions about their life, about their career choices, and um, that is dangerous right now. When it comes to education, it's doubly so because parents are relying on a school to educate their child, not to
Yeah.
miseducate them or give them wrongful information, right? And of course, a human, a teacher can do that as well, but it cannot do it at the scale that such a tool can do, right? So your question was more about discipline. Discipline, of course. So there are some before the age of AI, like now everybody is like talking about AI and thinking about AI, but before that, it was still in academia and research institution. There are a lot of psychological experiment that were conducted, right, to understand how will that play out if we start introducing robots or some kind of automated system that are as sophisticated. And you can be very, very so even when a new teacher enters a classroom and the students don't know the teacher,
Yeah.
it can be a very bumpy road for the teacher, right? Because the teacher
Yes.
has to establish themselves as the authoritative figure, as the deliverer of information, and it's hard for them to get to where they are not that to the role where they're accepted for an automated tool or a chatbot. You can be assured that especially when it comes to children, they're gonna not definitely not uh, hold back, right? And there's a very funny video because some researchers did that they took a robot, or more like something that looked like a robot, like kind of a metal uh, box that could move on its own, or more like actually was remotely controlled, and they put it in Grand Central in New York, right? In the open area where people are coming and going, and of course a whole bunch of people are sitting there and their children are running around and playing, and they just put it there and it's moving around, right? So it's behaving like a robot, and children came and they were like started playing with it, right, literally. And after a while they're making a video, and children actually stopped you started blocking the path of that robot on their own. So nobody prompted them that do that, but they started doing it because that's what we do, right? We try to test our limit. And after a while we see that children are actually kicking the robot, right? Because the robot is made of metal, and children of course um, are all about being mean to each other, but also about the reason I brought this up this story is that psychologically um, or discipline wise, you can be sure that's not going to work out. It's going to work out very badly for any such system.
So,
They're going to be they're not going to be nice to it.
yeah.
You need a human
So I
if you want
believe
discipline.
anybody who has a concern that if AI would replace teachers, I think so that's not going to happen
That's
in
not
near
yeah,
future, especially when it comes to discipline and trying to discipline kids. I think so that's not something that's gonna work. And
definitely.
thank you so much, Adnan, for your answers. They were very insightful. Now I will move on to the creator segment. And anybody who has a question, they can just write it in the chat box, and we would love to answer your questions. Now, Maria, how are you doing today?
Hi, I'm doing fine. Happy to be here.
That's good. And how was your week so far?
It's been good. It's been a bit hectic with university work, but other than that, it's been a good week.
That's great. My question to you would be, how do you think AI would help teachers or support them in managing their workload?
So, one of the biggest problems is recently, for example, in Australia, there has been a teacher burnout problem. Teachers are unable to focus on creating the right environment for students, giving individual attention to students, because they have to deal with a lot of managerial tasks and administrative work. So one of the advantages of AI is that it allows those tasks to be automated, and it gives space for the teachers to focus on to shift their priorities towards the students, rather than, for example, checking assignments, doing administrative work, and so on and so forth. So this is one of the major advantages of AI.
That's great. And I think so. A lot of the times, if AI were to take up these monotonous tasks and these things that people don't need to do, especially when it comes to, shifting their focus on other things that are more important, I think so that would allow people to be more creative and, shift their
Exactly.
yeah, focus on things that are more important and they can work on. And how do you think AI might adapt to teaching methods, to different sort of learning styles, if it was the teacher? As a lot of students have different sort of learning styles. Some people learn visually and some people are more inclined towards audio and cues, stuff like that. So how do you think that would work?
So if AI was the teacher, then the lesson plans and the classroom learning and teaching would be individually geared towards each student. So if in a classroom you have a bunch of visual learners, kinesthetic learners, then the AI would adapt the lesson plans in such a way that those students don't feel left out. So for example, if it's a lecture, if it's like a verbal lecture, the AI could incorporate images related to those to the text or whatever it is speaking, and that will allow students who are better visual learners to grasp concepts more effectively and efficiently. Similarly, with kinesthetic learners, the AI can, for example, it can either suggest human teachers, or it can incorporate certain visual motions that will be easier for kinesthetic learners to learn. So through this way, the AI can produce lesson plans which will be individualized, and this will help different students to learn more efficiently and effectively.
Yeah, I think so. As Adnan mentioned before, that personalized learning is something that AI could, be really good at, and it could really help the students in order to learn in a very effective manner. And my last question to you would be, how do you think AI could help the teachers track the progress of their students?
So another advantage of AI is that it's able to analyze and dissect large data sets. So for example, if you have exam scores or if you have assignment scores, then the AI is not only able to collect it, but also analyze and also show patterns. So for example, if a student is lagging behind in vocabulary, or if another student has poor arithmetic and analytical skills, then the AI can easily identify and identify those patterns, and different teachers can then know that which student has which problem area and address that accordingly. So
Yes.
this is another way that AI can prove very useful for teaching.
I think so that's very effective. Like in order to know that, oh, okay, that is the student who needs more help in that sort of thing. So growing up, if that was something that we had incorporated in our learning, I think so it would have helped in a lot of ways. Thank
Absolutely.
you so much, Maria, for your opinions and your great answers. And before we wrap up, I have a few questions for Adnan, which is first one is, can you give us any insights on the topic, key takeaways that you would like to share? I think so. There is some sort of technical difficulty at Adnan's end. So, any key takeaways that you would like to share, Maria?
Personally, I would say that AI, while what Adnan said was very pertinent, that AI can never truly replace a teacher. However, AI can make certain tasks, certain administrative tasks, more manageable, and it can also individually address each student's problem, and that will allow for each student to learn more efficiently and effectively. And as you said, if this was in our time, then it would have definitely made a better impact on our peers and on us, and it would have made learning much more fun.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think so that with AI, a lot of the time students are becoming very creative as well. Like
Yes.
before, people were not as, able to access a lot of things. But with AI, people have new ideas and they can, really shape their ideas in a very unique way as well. So I think so. Afterwards, when new AI tools were introduced to students, they came up with really, really creative sort of outcomes.
Exactly.
Yeah, and we have something written in the chat box. How can we ensure that AI tools used in education respect students or teachers' privacy and data security? So, this is a question by somebody who wrote in the chat box. I think so. Adnan cannot connect at the moment. Would you like to answer it?
Yes. So so regarding teachers and student privacy, since AI will be handling the data, so I would say that there needs to personally, from what I've heard, there needs to be steps and there needs to be programs to ensure that that data is secure. How and one way which AI can contribute to this is that it can provide systems, or it can ensure that that data is kept in a secure manner.
Yeah,
So,
they can also be, there can also be regulations as well. That
exactly.
Najmul have also talked in her, when we talked about AI and can AI, would AI be able to read your mind? And she said that there are a lot of regulations in that are still there that could ensure that there is privacy of people who are using the AI tools. So I think so in this regard as well, people who are using AI, either student or the teacher, their data and their privacy can be ensured via a lot of regulations as well.
I'd also like to add that recently, particularly earlier this year, there have been a lot of talks on international level and in national levels in various countries on how to ensure that data is privately secure that is used in AI tools. So this is an ongoing debate, and definitely we will see some policies formed in the future that do ensure that a teacher and student's privacy is kept secure.
Yes. And for everybody who has tuned in, thank you so much for joining. We are glad that you guys tuned in to our episode. And we hope that next week all of you guys tune in again. And we have a really special and amazing sort of topic next week as well for this series of AI and education with Opus AI. And before we go away, we would like to ask everybody to check out the Opus website. Our pre-sale is live. And for the weekend, I would say thank you so much, everybody, and have a great week and have a great day. Thank you so much, Maria, for tuning in. Bye bye.
Thank you.